Hey everyone, just letting you know this isn't a deja vu. I did post yesterday, but it also was brought up to me. Shout out to Kevin Chee to let me know that last week's video, the sound got stripped somehow. I think this happened during the upload, but the source file got corrupted. So I'm re-recording it. Here we go. Now, I'm talking about the debt scissors method. It's kind of one that I don't know if anyone else has come up with it. I haven't been able to really find it on the internet, so it's possible that I created it. If I didn't, let me know who did so I can credit them if we had concurrent ideas. So I do recognize that this method kind of, requires at least a little bit of privilege. And I have been very privileged in my life to be able to get to the point that I am. So this might not work for everybody, but for those that it would work for, I just believe this approach is going to be able to help somebody out there who is financially tied to a toxic person in their lives. And so if you think that you know somebody that this can be helpful to, please send them this video. Let's empower our friends and family to take control of their financial independence from others taking advantage of them. So sharing my strategy for being able to cut the cord with my toxic relative started with after graduating college. I was forced into taking a car loan, or a specific car loan that, I still have the car, I paid it off. But at the time, it was putting me in a very difficult position financially. My budget was super, super tight, and this person didn't care. This person wanted me to have a specific vehicle, and I didn't really have the financial means to say no. So thankfully, it came with a fantastic interest rate because my co-signer had an excellent credit score at the time. They probably still do. I don't really know. I don't really care. So I was determined to get out of debt. I had student loans on top of this as well as my car. I didn't put any money down on the car because I had no money with which to put down on the car. Due to the fact that I had a co-signer with excellent credit, I was a recent college graduate, and I had like my offer letter for my job that I was due to start in a few weeks. I think it was, I bought the car on Halloween and it snowed that day. And then I started my first job as, a career engineer on the 15th of November. So little over 2 weeks later, I started my new job. And I knew from the beginning that it was going to be difficult to make this payment because it was so high. It was, my car payment was almost $420 a month. It was literally just under that. And because of that tight budget that they had forced me into, I was often skipping meals, especially when I was sick, in order to make ends meet. So if I got sick enough to need medicine, I had to skip meals in order to take that medicine, which, that was fun. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And, it's not like I was eating 3 times a day to begin with. Honestly, I feel like I function best eating twice a day, but, we can discuss that later if it interests you. Anyway, I was just so determined to get out of debt, and I realized, within a little less than a year after I had started this new job, I realized I needed to cut this really super toxic person out of my life. So thankfully, I was already living my own. I already had my own apartment, and pretty much this person was using our financial tie to kind of keep me in their life, or rather to keep them in my life. I don't think they really cared whether or not I was in their life until they realized I was cutting them out. So I knew that I didn't want to give them an excuse to haul me into court for whatever reason, pretend that I didn't make a payment when I actually did. So I wanted to focus on paying off my car as soon as possible. So you may be familiar with Dave Ramsey's debt snowball or debt avalanche concepts. There are tons of videos out there on YouTube explaining them. And Dave Ramsey, I think, has written at least one book on the subject. But in case you haven't heard of them, here's a brief overview of how those work. So the debt snowball is where you list all of your debts by the order of smallest amount you have left to pay versus the largest amount you have to pay at the bottom. So the smallest on top and the largest on the bottom. And make all of your minimum payments every month, and then every dollar extra that you have, or you can decide ahead of time, which is actually more efficient this way, because then you're less likely to, you're most likely going to have more if you prioritize it from the beginning of the month instead of waiting to see what's left over at the end of the month. But you will take all that extra money and you will slam it on that smallest payment. You want to get rid of that smallest payment first, or that smallest debt first. It gives you a quick win. You get that rush of endorphins. You say, yeah, I accomplished something. And then you take that payment, so all that extra money plus the minimum payment for that smallest debt, and you apply it to the next smallest debt until you pay that off. Then you get that win and that high, and you move on to the next one and the next one. And it builds up like a snowball. Like your payment kind of builds up like a snowball. You start with a little bit, you add a little bit more, and then you add a little bit more. And that's kind of how that would, snowball until everything's paid off. The debt avalanche is a little bit different. You list all of your debts, except in priority of smallest to largest. You focus on the interest rate, and you want to pay off the highest interest rate loans first, because in the end, that saves you the most money. You pay the least amount because you're paying off the high interest debt first, and you're just, there's less principal for that to build on every month until that's paid off. Then you go into the next highest one, and the same and same and same. And that payment builds up much faster once you knock out one of those debts. And this is more for people who have a lot more discipline, or don't, that's not the right way to word it, who don't require the motivation of a quick win in order to, keep moving and stick with the program. And that's how I was doing things at first. I'd actually never heard of the debt snowball and the debt avalanche until literally last year when I was Googling YouTube videos for help with my finance class. So I was looking at all of that. And as things were going on, my relationship with this toxic person in my life was deteriorating. I realized that, as much as I would prefer to save money, I'm going to be saving my mental health, and I'm going to save my sanity, and I'm going to save myself so many sleepless nights being paranoid, sleeping with a baseball bat in case this person tried to come into my house. So I realized that over the long run, I was paying more money, but I was also saving so much stress by doing this first. So here is, the debt scissors method that I guess I've created, or hopefully, maybe somebody else has created, but it's something I came up with once things, really finally came to a head. And think about, when did I start slamming this down? 2014. In 2014 was when I really started doing this. And first thing you do is you pay off all of your super high interest debt. And the way I define super high interest debt is when your minimum payment doesn't even cover the interest. Meaning that over time, instead of going down, even though you're making the minimum payment, the amount of money you owe actually goes up with time. This is predatory. This is going to set you way back, and this is going to make it so much more difficult for you to leave. So what you do is, if you're not sure, I'm going to put a link in the description, and you can go to this website, and what it does is it analyzes your debt for you. So you can either calculate it as, I'm going to make this payment, and you tell me how many years it will take to pay off, or you'll say, I want to pay off in this many years, tell me what my payment will be. And so you type in, what your principal is, what your interest rate is, and in this case, what I want you to do is put in the minimum payment for that loan. So you're going to write, you say, I owe $5,000 and I have this 18% interest rate, and you say, my minimum payment is $40. Something that typically shows up on like a credit card, something to that effect. And if the website, and when you go to calculate how long it will take for you to pay off, the website will yell at you if the minimum payment is less than the interest that builds every month. So if the website yells at you, you need to pay this off absolutely first, because this is going to drown you before you even get a chance to leave your toxic person. So once that, you take you make all the minimum payments on everything else, and then you take, whatever money you can scrounge around, you slam it on that debt first. I was very lucky and privileged to have not been in this situation, but I have a few friends who have been in such a situation, and getting that done first was their key to first becoming financially independent from this other person. Next, once that's all taken care of, is when you can really get down to business on the scissors. You make 2 lists. First list is all of the debt with which you are co-signed or you share an account with the person you're trying to cut out of your life. The second list is all of your other debt that has nothing to do with the person you're trying to cut out of your life. Then you take that list that is based on all the, that person you want to cut out of your life, and you prioritize it in the debt avalanche method. So you prioritize the highest interest rate debt first. I don't care how much money, or I don't care how long it takes for you to finish off that payment, except perhaps in the case of a mortgage, which is obviously way more complicated because nobody can, I wouldn't say nobody, it is often very unrealistic to pay that off in a short enough term that can keep you safe from this person. At that point, it's probably much too late, and you need to save your sanity first before worrying about a mortgage that you co-signed with this person. You will have to figure that out in court later, or maybe talk to a lawyer or somebody. I cannot advise that. Whatever you need to do, just go and do it. So with the exception of a mortgage, I would have to, seek legal or financial advice from somebody qualified to give that to you before moving forward with that part. But, say you have a credit card where that other person's got their name on it, or a car loan or a student loan, or, maybe you bought some furniture and they were a co-signer, whatever this debt is. Start with the highest debt first, pay that off, roll that into the next one, pay that off, and then roll into the next highest interest rate and you pay that off. Avalanche the heck out of anything co-signed with that person. Now, once you've finished that entire list and you're no longer financially tied to this person, you have 2 options. You can either take half of that money that you were paying on your debt every month and you can save it towards an escape fund where, whether you need to put down a security deposit on, on an apartment, or you need to buy a more reliable car if you need to get your car fixed, or you need to take care of, neglected medical attention, or whatever it is that you need to do in order to escape this person. You can, hide that money away in a high yield savings account that the toxic person has 0 access to. That's the key. That person has to have 0 access to that money. Whether you hide it somewhere, they can't find it. They need to be incapable of finding it. This toxic person well enough to know how sneaky they are and how able they are to find your stashes of whatever. If you are unable to get a savings account that they won't know about and they won't have access to, either you are, either they're your legal guardian and you're not yet 18, or this person needs to be gone yesterday. And in that case, slap all of that extra money on the rest of your debts while you figure out your escape plan. That way you have much less debt burdening you once you escape, because you're going to be a lot more on the fly in that case. It's unfortunate, but that's how it was. I was fortunate enough that once I was done paying off my car, I was already kind of theoretically escaped. By the time my car was paid off, I lived in another state where that person technically only had my address in that I had moved in with my partner, but this person did not yet know that I was living with my partner. And then by the time that person found out, I was no longer living at that address. So there's a lot of fun stuff there with that. So I was thankfully already mostly gone, but I was still worried about being dragged into court for whatever reason. So I started, I took half of whatever my car payment was, the extra money I was putting on it too. And half of that money was going straight into savings, and the other half of that money was going on my student loans. And then I was able to quickly finish paying off my student loans after that, and I prioritized them by the debt avalanche method. once you are free, you can choose whichever method that you prefer. If but I mean, at that point, you've been hopefully avalanching the whole way. You might as well finish. It saves you the most money in the long run. But you know, your life is obviously going to change when you're, or in most cases, when you're free. So you need to do what's right for you. If you're not sure, we can talk about that in a future video. So I guess that's it. Once you're done paying off all the debt associated with your co-signer, your toxic co-signer, you got your debt scissors, and now you can cut that person out of your life. Boom, gone, snip, snip, gone. It honestly is a fantastic feeling. A lot of people were looking at how I was paying off my debt, and they were like, "You're stupid. Why are you paying off your car loan? That has the lowest interest rate. You have an under 2% interest rate on your car. Why are you paying that off first?" Because I have a co-signer who's holding it over my head and constantly tells me I have no rights because of the co-signer situation. So I'm willing to pay that extra money and interest on all my other loans just to get this person legally out of my life and have no way to actually lay claim to anything on me. Other people were kind of like, well, if you're going to pay stuff that's not the highest interest rate, wouldn't you want to pay off like your smallest student loan? Again, I was trying to separate myself from this person. Nobody else was really seeing it that way until I actually said, well, actually, my car was, I have a co-signer on the car, and I don't talk to this person anymore. And, I would say, this person was actually really, rough with me. This person is very toxic. I can't stand being around them. And once the people who were questioning me started to understand the situation I was in, they were like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you're paying more money in the long run, but with the amount of therapy you're going to need after cutting this person out of your life, you're actually saving money in the long run, because you're going to need a lot less therapy because you're going to be with this person a lot shorter of a time. I wouldn't say that I need less therapy, but it's definitely been a much easier road just getting rid of that person earlier. So that's been a fantastic help. So let me know what you think of this method. If you think this is going to help somebody, please share the video with them. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. And if there's another topic that you'd like to talk about, that you'd like me to talk about on this channel, let me know. I love hearing from you. If we can find some way to tie this to kind of like, my goal of what we talk about here is, keeping yourself, financially independent, not having to depend on others, and also being able to, free yourself from people who just drag you down in life, and just kind of self-improvement in that way, and just kind of working on healing all of the stuff. This is just something that I've been going through for most of my life, and I realize that not a lot of people want to talk about it, and there are a lot of people that, I know in my personal life that, need some form of what I want to talk about. So thank you for watching. I want you to stay safe. I want you to stay sane, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good week. Thanks for your help, Kevin. Bye.